Hey guys, you see this big smile on my face today. I am so happy because I have a special guest that I am really excited about talking to, and not just because she's from North Carolina, but partially because she's from North Carolina. Today we are on episode 47, and we are Small Business Connections. We're here today to talk to you about leadership. But before we do, I have to remind you, we have ASMMcampus.com. That's where you can go to learn more about social media for yourself, because sometimes you need to hire somebody and sometimes you can do it on your own. And I know that there are lots and lots of things you guys can do on your own. If you need to hire me, I'm here. We love to do that. But until then, go over to ASMM Campus and learn a little bit about what you need to know about social media marketing in your business. So let me bring on Nathalie Gregg. Give me just 1 second. There she is. Hi, Nathalie. How are you?
Good morning. How are you, Ann?
I'm good. I'm so glad you could come on.
I am as well. Sorry about the technical difficulties on yesterday.
Oh, you know, it happens. But I have to tell you, I'm looking at you guys. I couldn't see what we were going through trying to get Nathalie on yesterday. But one of the things that happened, I'm looking and I'm like, I think she's in the back seat of a car. And you had pulled over to get in the back seat of the car and try to figure things out.
That's called being flexible.
That's what I was about to say. It's called being flexible. Sometimes you just got to make it work. Actually,
exactly.
That leads me into something that I wanted to talk to you about. One of the things that we have at ASMM is we're all women. Well, we have one, my son works with us, but he's more of a mom. I always say we're all moms, and Ethan is his mom's, like everybody calls him the mom of his group. So he's kind of a mom too.
Oh.
So, and moms are very flexible. So I always send out, I say to you, well, first of all, before we do that, tell me a little bit about you and about Lead Loudly in particular.
Okay. A little bit about me. I'm probably an educator by trade and an entrepreneur by design.
Okay.
And I've always been fascinated with brands and why some brands kind of do the kind of teeter-totter and why others really catch on fire. And so throughout my work, it's always been somewhere around economic development with a focus in leadership, really drilling down in women and as far as why some women are as successful as they could be. Right. And that's kind of sort of how we started putting Lead Loudly together, which means to be bold, confident, and fearless.
I love that. I love that.
Bold, thank you.
Fearless. And I don't think I've written that down anywhere, so I'm writing it down now. Bold.
Oh, wonderful. Fearless. Yes.
So, which is interesting because the next thing we're going to talk about is choosing a word for 2020. And the first time I ever did this was in 2017, and I chose fearless. And
so wonderful.
Yeah. And it was really good timing because that was the year that I got a bad biopsy back and I had a lot of scary things happening and I had just started my business. So it's, it was an important word. So tell us why you think you should choose a word for 2020.
I encourage my students as well as my clients to choose a word for each year and not be afraid if the word does not work to pivot to another word. Because I feel like that it serves as a foundation for not only for what you want to accomplish, but also how you live your life, your business, and your career.
Exactly.
And my word for 2020 is evolve, because I really wanted to go back to the basics and really not forget about what I've learned. But as you said on Twitter earlier today, to be open for what works. And if it's not working, then pivot or expand to something else.
Right. Exactly. And that's, and I think people are so afraid. We hear this a lot. Well, that's how we've always done it. I just had this same conversation with someone. I'm like, you're doing this big event and you're trying to pivot it to go online, but it really hasn't been successful even when it was an event. So why do you keep doing it? And she says, well, we've been doing it that way for 35 years.
Oh my.
That's a long time to do something.
That's quite some time.
Exactly. And maybe 35 years ago, it was unique, it was working, and it made sense. But, I think you do have to know that. My word for this year was achieve.
That's true.
Yeah.
Wonderful. How did you choose that word?
Well, because last year I picked growth, and it never resonated with me. didn't really work. I kind of stuck it out, and I shouldn't have. I should have said, I need to change it. But achieve was better. It was more positive. Achieve my goals, achieve some personal goals and some business goals. That was why 2 years ago I picked focus, and it was ironic. I couldn't focus on it. I needed to focus on it. Oh well. So, we have look at this. We have a guest. Winsome. Oh gosh, you two would love each other. Winsome is from my civic.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, Civic Women's Dinner. She says, I agree, being a business owner, you have to be bold, confident, and fearless. And she is exactly that. She is a true leader in what she does.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
I love meeting phenomenal women.
Well, you would love her. So I'll give you an introduction to her.
Awesome. Thank you.
Well, and part of that, that kind of leads us to mentorship. If you surround yourself with people who can lead you, but specifically a person who you can look up to. So tell us how mentorship has worked in your life.
Mentorship has been a really key component to helping me understand the trajectory of where I wanted to go. Even looking at the Lead Loudly Twitter chat, Madeline Scalar is my Twitter coach and my Twitter mentor. And she contacted me about a year before I launched the Lead Loudly Twitter chat. And she said, you really need to do something around this hashtag. And I was like, well, I don't know if I want to commit. I don't know if I want to do that. And so when I said to her, and I said, well, you've been successful with Twitter Smarter. You've done some incredible things. You've spoken on stages across the country, especially with social media marketing world. And I said, okay, well, if I'm going to do this, I need you to mentor me and coach me through this and be my first guest. So that's how we did it.
That's great. Well, and I had never done a Twitter chat. So let's talk a little bit about that. You've got this hashtag Lead Loudly. Right? It's really important to you. You created a Twitter chat, and I had paid attention. If you're on Twitter, there will once in a while be something that says, the first one I ever joined was Run Chat. And I would follow it. I would see what they were saying. And sometimes I could answer questions, and sometimes I'm just learning, right? But then you said, hey, can you be on my Twitter chat? And I was like, I don't know what that means. Like, how am I going to do that? And I was so nervous, and it was really fun. But
no, great. You did a phenomenal job.
Thank you. But you come up with a theme. So tell us how that works. You come up with a theme, and then where do you go with it?
Usually I look at the person that I am intrigued by being a guest on the Lead Loudly Twitter chat. And I look at them and say, are they bold, confident, and fearless? And what are they communicating out to their community and out to the world? Is it something about leadership, mentorship, business, entrepreneurship, those kinds of things? Right. And once I decide on what their platform is and what are they focusing on at that particular time, then I go ahead and make the ask. And most of the time I will encourage the guest to curate their own questions, but most of the time they will ask me to do it. And that's not a problem. I think it's just an incredible way for me to learn more about them, more about what they're doing, and how I can support them as well.
Right. Well, and it's nice. One of the things I didn't realize, I was like, okay, I'll do it. This sounds fun. But what I didn't realize is how valuable it is. I mean, it's valuable to the person who comes on.
Yes.
Because I had an entire
absolutely
hour where I was just filling a feed is what I was doing. I'm answering questions. I'm answering your questions and other people's questions. And then it went on for at least 24 hours of people commenting.
Yes.
So it's a very powerful tool. It's something that I really like.
Thank you.
That was good mentorship from Matt.
And I really, thank you. I just wish that more business owners and also women would get involved in Twitter and also as well as Twitter chats.
Yeah, people don't realize the power of it. And I will say,
that's right.
Past few weeks, it has been hard to be on Twitter. It's been a tough place because there's been a lot of name calling, a lot of pointing back,
yes,
and not listening to each other. That's been hard. But if you can take time to listen and wean out the real noise of it and listen to the people who have good ideas, it's very, very, I find a lot of useful things on Twitter.
Absolutely. That is so true, Anne. That is so true.
Yeah, yeah. So last night you had a guest, and actually I'm trying to remember because I made a comment this morning on what he was talking about. He was talking about it was leadership, but he was, oh gosh, now I can't remember. It was the difference between leadership and authority. That's one of the things he talked about. The difference between
we talked about that last night with Gene on the Lead Loudly Twitter chat.
Exactly.
His focus was courageous leadership.
Yes. Yeah, and I loved it because it made me think about how I want to live my life, which is to be an example, right? If I'm leading by example,
absolutely,
it's the strongest way I can possibly lead. So
that's so true.
Exactly. So tell me a little bit about, well, you know what? I'm going to interrupt with a story because I always interrupt myself anyway. So I'll interrupt with a story. So I love
fantastic.
I love the Lead Loudly brand because, and it happened just a couple of weeks ago. I wanted to join a new BNI. I went to visit it. And then afterwards I was interviewed and my husband said, well, did they like you? And I said, I mostly think that when I walked out of the room, they went, holy cow, what just happened? Because I am
that's right.
And so I love the idea of leading loudly, but explain it to me. What do you really mean by it?
Well, once again, it's about being bold, confident, and fearless. And that's in everything you do as far as creating Lead Loudly as a lifestyle. And that means different things for different people. And I'm not saying if you're an introvert that you have to go out and be an introvert. I'm not saying that at all. I am saying that make a conscious decision, especially as a female, to be your kind of bold, your kind of confident, and your kind of fearless.
Yes.
And those things really play into your voice. How do you use your voice? What's your personality, how you value yourself, and also your visibility. Some people are visible on several different social media platforms. Some people are visible on one and just decide to go deep.
Right.
So it's really decide how you want to curate leadership for yourself, but make sure that you're out there and you're using your voice, knowing your value, and creating your visibility.
Right, exactly. Well, and before you can do that, I think you have to know your worth. Right?
Yes,
you have
absolutely. That's where the value comes in.
Yeah, you have to know your worth. If you don't know that, if you don't understand that what you think and what you have to say is worth something, and maybe sometimes you need to think about whether it's worth something. Sometimes, I listen to people who will talk about something that I'm like, that's really outside your scope, right? You're going into an area that's completely outside your scope. You're offering an opinion that was somebody else's first. But what is your real opinion? What is your real knowledge? What's the best thing about you? And I'll tell you, everybody has the best thing about them.
Absolutely. As I love to call it, the zone of genius, and really digging deep, but also having those courageous conversation with your mentors, and also your trusted friends and community.
Right.
And that was some great information that you gave that person that it was out of their scope.
Right.
And I encourage people all the time, you have to be really focused on what it is that you are passionate about and also what drives you.
Right, exactly.
Because that's where you make the incredible connections with the people that you're called to serve, as well as your community.
Absolutely. And I will say that, I feel very blessed. I feel very lucky that I knew my passion. My passion has been in marketing forever, but I found my purpose in life about 3 years ago in suicide prevention. And having a purpose in life and knowing that's my purpose in life, it changes everything.
Oh, absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah, that it really does. All right. So I want you got 3 top things that you think women should know for leading loudly. What are your 3 tips?
Okay. That goes back to voice, value, and visibility. And I've seen so many women across so many different cultures, so many different socioeconomic backgrounds, really not know their value and really a little bit apprehensive sometime about even thinking about that. And
Right.
thinking about what that looks like and thinking about how do they want to offer that to the world. And that's whether they're in their career or whether they're an entrepreneur or whether they're a combination of thereof. And I really feel like as we move more forward in these economic times, as Dory Clark wrote this phenomenal book a couple of years ago called The Entrepreneurial You, and really focusing on entrepreneurship as being a lifestyle and a mindset and having several different sources of income, not just one. So, and being able to pivot and expand appropriately.
Right. Well, if we learn nothing
And once you could,
during COVID, it was that,
I'm
right?
sorry,
If we learned nothing during COVID,
absolutely.
the importance of that. So,
Right, right. And so many people were astonished that all of a sudden we had to pivot to 100% digital.
right. Right.
And those that were already there and already had some of the infrastructure in place that where that they just had to click on a button, they were far ahead of the game.
Right. Exactly. So tell me about how
Mm-hmm.
you view visibility.
Visibility is basically being seen and thinking about where do you want to be seen? Where does your tribe, your people, your squad, where do they exist? Are
Right.
they on Twitter? Are they on LinkedIn? Are they on Facebook?
Right.
And what are their pain points, but also what are their passion points? I think you really need to look at both. You know, what are they suffering with? And what also do they celebrate? I
I love
celebrate 24/7 women
I love
because
that.
we can do it.
We've got to get you up here for one of my civic dinners. You would have a blast.
Oh, I would love to.
When life
Just
is
let me
back,
know when, and I
I
am totally there.
I would love that. That would be great. I love the passion points, but I had a conversation with a man just yesterday, and he said to me, "What I
Mm-hmm.
offer, it doesn't really help anybody's pain points. I don't have pain points. This is a luxury item." And I was trying to explain to him that doesn't matter. You can still, it's a luxury item. Somebody who wants that, it's almost, it works, but passion point is a great way of saying that. I love that. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Because I was always thinking about, what's the other side?
right.
And sometimes we discover our pain points through our passion point and also vice versa.
Have you written about that?
A little bit. I'm starting to develop that a little more
Yeah, you should definitely write about
because
that.
thank you.
Yeah, that's a
Thank
great
you.
one. Yeah, and I'm bossy. I don't know if you know that about me, but I do this thing called AUA, Ann's Unsolicited Advice.
Mm-hmm.
I give a lot of it.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
You're my kind of lady.
Well, so I want to tell you something about visibility. I say this a lot, and people think I'm nice until they say this. I say this, and then they're like, "Oh man, you're mean. You're forgettable." When it comes down
That's
to
true.
it, we're all forgettable. So you've got to find a way to be
Mm-hmm.
visible. I want to go back because Winsome just made another comment. And she says, I agree. You definitely need to know what your strengths are. Not everybody's going to be a great public speaker. Not everybody's going to be a great marketer, but you have to know what you're bringing to the table and what you can offer the world, right? I think it is really important. But that part about not being a great public speaker, I want to say there has to be a way that you get your voice out there, whether it's public speaking, whether it's what you say on social media, whether it's what you say in your community and networking events, but you've got to find a way to be more visible. And that's what marketing is all about. that you said.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, you said some brands survive, some brands don't. And the difference to me is that they're not getting their message. They're not being visible. So that is a huge part of what you've just said.
Absolutely. And as the world continues to shift and evolve, even going deeper within that, the brands that are finding a way to be more personalized and also to be able to segment it.
Yes.
I've noticed that they're having a tremendous amount of growth and expansion as well. Personalization and segmentation.
Yes.
Can I
Absolutely.
feel like that I'm the only person that is connected to your brand, and when you talk to me, you're talking directly to me, and you're
Right.
giving me that personalized customer experience.
Right. Exactly. I think it was Sigourney Weaver. I saw the other night when she was a little girl, really little, like 7 or 8. Her mom took her to go
Mm-hmm.
see the Beatles. And she said that she spent hours getting dressed because she was sure that Paul was looking directly at her. And she was seated in the very back of the stadium, right? But she's like, but Paul was
Mm-hmm.
looking directly at me. And that's what a brand has to do. They have to look directly at their
Absolutely.
So yeah, so I think that's really important. All right, well, let's talk about, so what are the
Mm-hmm.
mission critical behaviors you have to do right now? What do we need to do as women in particular right now?
Well, as we celebrate the 19th Amendment today,
Uh-huh.
and I thought that that was so incredible that I
Well,
really want to.
because we have a voice, right? And voting, we have
Absolutely.
a voice. So we should honor that and do something with it.
And and I was watching CNN this morning, and I was watching the number of female mayors that we have across the country, and what they're talking about as far as what's going on right now. So this is actually a great precursor from what we're discussing, and having that voice, but also getting involved. And that's voting as well as advocacy, as well as supporting.
Right, exactly. Exactly. Well, and I
Mhm.
think a big part right now in particular is educating, right?
Yes.
Because we can
Hmm.
go out there and we can vote, but if we are getting all of our opinions off of Twitter and Facebook and Instagram, and we're not learning to think for ourselves, and we're only listening to the things that are interesting to us or that agree with our opinion, we're missing out, right?
Oh,
And
absolutely.
so
Absolutely.
I think I have an easier time of this than most people, only because I'm so right down the middle.
Hmm.
I have to learn because I'm like, I don't have a party that I can say, oh, this or that. I am so right down the middle
Right.
that I'm like, I've got to figure out
Hmm.
exactly who I'm looking at and what I'm learning, because otherwise I miss out on everything. So, all right. Hey,
Absolutely.
before we go, I got to have some fun with you. I didn't warn you about this, but I think we should do either or North Carolina style. And I was telling everybody yesterday,
Okay.
I know the answers to these, but I don't know if you do. We'll see if you get them right.
Okay.
Okay. So is it barbecued or fried fish?
Barbecue.
French fries or hush puppies?
Hush puppies.
Absolutely. That would have been a bad one. How about beach or mountains?
Beach.
Beach. Oh, and I'd go for the mountains every time, I think. All right. How about sweet tea or lemonade?
Sweet tea.
Sweet tea every time. There you go. See, you're a smart woman. I knew you were. And you're down there in Smithfield barbecue country, aren't you? Right?
That is correct. But the interesting thing is, I was born in South Carolina, near Myrtle Beach.
Were you?
So I'm like you. Yes, I'm right down the middle. I
Oh,
am. I straddle both sides.
okay. Yeah, and I told you I'm from Wilmington, so I am practically to South Carolina. Wilmington's right there.
Yes, it's beautiful area, beautiful shopping and nice restaurants.
Yeah, exactly. And I spent my summers in South Carolina, but over in Walterboro. So that's, really
Oh, near Charleston.
yeah, exactly. Really out
Yeah,
there.
I know exactly where Walterboro is. Yes, I have some friends from college who live in Walterboro.
Oh wow. I don't think I've ever met anybody who knows
So,
anything who
yeah.
well,
Oh, I know several people from Walterboro.
this was fun, but I have a question. So I'm so sorry. This is how they find you. People can find you at nathaliegregg.com. But tell me what you can do for people.
Absolutely.
Because you said my students and my clients. So what can you do for clients?
Well, all of my work is around leadership and peak performance.
Okay.
And so, whether they're looking to start a career, expand their career, start a business, or expand their business, leadership is the core of basically everything that we do. So, that's what I do as a leadership and a performance coach. So,
Oh,
whether I'm working with my students in the classroom, or whether I'm working with a client one on one, or whether I'm working with a team. It's
awesome.
all about leadership and peak performance.
That's great. I'm going to ask you a question, and I just kind of thought of this.
Sure.
Can you teach confidence? Uh-oh. Did you hear me? Can you teach confidence?
No, I'm sorry. I didn't hear the.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Absolutely. Because that's part of the bold, confidence, and fearless. And sometimes as women, we don't like to discuss that we may need to be more confident. So I sometimes actually align that with the leadership piece.
Okay.
And for us, what does that look like for the individual to be a strong leader?
Well, and I think sometimes people think of confidence as something that is, akin to cockiness.
Right.
So it's almost like they think it's a negative thing, and it really isn't.
It is not at all. Not at all.
Exactly.
It's about believing in yourself. And as a young lady earlier, also believing in your strengths and believing in that you're the person to deliver this product or service to the people that you serve.
Right. Exactly. I think one of the most valuable things I learned about that, and because I had this point where I was like, I'd go in and I'm like, okay, well, I'm selling this, but isn't there somebody better than me? Isn't there somebody who can do it better than me? And then I was talking to, I went to a conference and Michael Hyatt was there. You know who Michael Hyatt is? I think we talked to him. Yeah. So
Yes.
Michael Hyatt was there. He was speaking, and he talked about a time when he had been made CEO, and he kept waiting the whole day. That first day, he's like, somebody's going to come in the office and say, oh, no, we made a mistake. You're not really CEO. So he started talking about that imposter syndrome. And that was really helpful to me to realize, okay, so I'm not alone in the fact that there are going to be moments in my life where I feel like an imposter, and it's okay. So,
and I felt like that yesterday when I could not get everything to work. And I was like, okay, this is so embarrassing.
Oh, you should. Yeah, that's technology is who knows what it's going to do any given day. After I talked to you, I ended up with no internet for the rest of the day. I have no idea what happened, but I had.
Oh my!
Well, that's it. I'm going to have to figure out something else to do today. So, but yeah. So, all right. So don't go away. You stay right here. I want to talk about what we've got coming up next week.
Absolutely.
All right. Next week on Monday, we have a guest who's going to come on and talk about the importance of teamwork. This is really important as you grow. So as a solopreneur, I will tell you honestly, I believed that in my business, we were not, my husband even asked, he says, what are your goals? And I said, well, I want to make this much money, but I don't really need to grow past that. This is where I want to be. Well, within 3 weeks of saying that to him, I ended up having to hire my first person. And then we had an enormous amount of growth because of that. And then since then, we now have 5 people on our team. We're growing on a regular basis. And actually, my COO just yesterday said to me, we're probably going to have to hire again. That amazes me. But once you start growing, you've got to realize that even with 2 people, you've got a team. And even with no people, you have a team because you've got people around you, right? So we're going to talk about teamwork in not just the people you're working with in your office, in your business, but the people who surround you. People like Nathalie. Nathalie's on my team now, right? We're part of a team. We're watching each other. We're helping each other to build our businesses. So we have to be part of a team. So teamwork's important. I want to remind you, you're watching this on YouTube or Facebook, or you're watching it on Twitter. If you're watching it on Twitter, give us a follow, give Nathalie a follow. We're going to be putting this out there a couple of different ways today so that you can follow us, each of us. But I also want you to subscribe over on YouTube and subscribe to the podcast, because we'll take the audio from this, put it onto the podcast, and we'll have that out to you hopefully this afternoon. And then one more thing is, if you need digital marketing help, you've got a business that you want to stop being forgettable, let us know. It's asmmdigital.com, so you can reach us there. Again, our guest today was Nathalie Gregg, and it's been an absolute pleasure. This was so much fun. I was so excited about talking to a North Carolina girl about leadership today. So thank you for being on.
Thank you so much, Ann.
Yeah. All right. Give me 1 second. I'm going to come right back to you.